Did we settle on a poll question before we get to the Hall of Famer?
Yeah,
Chris
just
Webber?
to start, I put up the Clippers question. Did they have a good postseason? I'm curious what our LA audience thinks.
All right, let me find out what Chris Webber thinks about that. The member of the 2021 Basketball Hall of Fame, former analyst for TNT, and, of course, Fab Five at Michigan. Clippers have a good year, Chris?
They had the best season in Clipper history. They led the league in threes and free throw percentage. They maybe, could have won if they had their best player. They came down from 0-2 twice. I think they had the best season. Maybe not the most exciting season when you look at Lob City or things like that, but yeah, they had the most successful season, definitely.
What's Chris Paul's reputation as a player?
I think he's played so long and he's had been able to have a few reputations. At one time, I think it was a stubborn point guard that maybe didn't get along with his coaches. At one time, maybe it was not the best teammate. And, I think now what we see is that maybe all that was true because he was trying to get to this point. Because same thing could be said for Kobe or others that had, ways about themselves that was winning first, and you don't understand it until you win a championship. And so I think he's played long enough where he's been able to kind of douse those rumors and, use those rumors to his advantage and say, well, if it was true, it's only because I've been trying to get here and look what I did with this young team.
It's interesting how a mid-range jumper, we just let you take the mid-range jumper. There's nothing sexy about it, and it doesn't impact you as much as, hey, that guy just hit a three or that guy dunked. Chris, it was like water torture. It wasn't a guillotine. It was just water torture, just drip, drip, drip. And then you look up and you realize he scored 31 of his 41 in the second half. How does that happen, Chris?
Dan, you're a historian of the game. You've seen the great ones play. You've seen Alex English or Vinnie Johnson or Adrian Dantley. And think about what makes KD so great. What makes KD great is that they're down 4 and he's shooting mid-range jumpers. Or what makes Curry great is he can hit mid-range jumpers and go back door. I think this is really, I think this speaks more to coaches following the leader. If you look at San Antonio and others, maybe their teams aren't the best, but they play a mid-range game. And what do you have the difference between these two teams is now Middleton can make mid-range shots, and then this guy right here, Chris Paul is one of the best at doing it.
Paul George have a legitimate beef with the media that the expectations we put in on him or what we expect from him come playoff time?
I think he has a legitimate beef with social media and the Twitterverse. When I didn't necessarily hear his rant, and so if he said the media specifically, I think that's misguided unless he's speaking to certain individuals in the media. But, when you look at up to this point, he has the most points in the playoffs, what he's done in the playoffs. I think he's had an excellent playoff. I think expectation is what really hurt this Clippers team because I really look at them, man. You tell me where they're good. Besides the two leaders, you tell me where they're good. They don't have a big man, and I love Zubac. But he's really like a backup on other teams. Yeah. Where do they have a guy? Morris is really good, but where do they have a guy that can just go get his? Beverly doesn't have the same impact anymore. So talent-wise, this team isn't better than Denver. Talent-wise, this team is nowhere near Utah. And so to me, I think he got caught up in expectations. And so really taking the team to another level over playoffs. If they had Kawhi, who would know? Who knows?
But I also wonder about that as they move forward, Chris, with Kawhi. Is that knee going to be an issue the rest of his career? Like, how much can you count on Kawhi?
So first, I would say the MCL is not that big of a deal. I say, not that I'm a doctor, but I've had some MCL issues. But I think his history, whether it be of rest, of time management, things like that, I think that's a concern. But I don't think you can. I think that you kind of need to do like having an aging quarterback, kind of have somebody there for him to train, but they need a guy of a different position. They have two of the best two-way defenders, but they're both 6'7", both handle the ball. They need someone that has a different skill set that's the best at their position. But, yeah, I would hurry up and get him some help.
Yeah, I wondered about having a legitimate point guard on this team and how that could benefit the Clippers.
I think it could help, but I think you need a legitimate scoring point guard, and more importantly, I think that they need a big finisher. It doesn't have to be a center, but someone athletic, someone that can help the paint. This is what I always think about this team. They have great defense, but you know how hard they work outside on the perimeter because they don't have any shot blockers. So, I mean, if they have a shot blocker that could conserve energy, they could get out on the fast break more, things like that. So I really think they need to address just an athletic big. The guy 6'9", 6'10", maybe he's a center, maybe he's not, but just someone that could keep up with the pace of play that they have.
Hall of Famer Chris Webber joining us on the show. You ever had an hyperextended knee like what Giannis is trying to play through?
Yes. It was scary because, it goes against all sense of balance when that happens, and you tend to think it's more serious than it is. But I don't see if he plays next game, I'd be surprised if he played the next two. I just things like that. It takes a little bit of time, not only to heal, but the trust may be the scariest part.
Yeah, just when you come down and you just see the leg, like what could have been. I mean, that could have been, career threatening.
Man, if he, it doesn't seem like if he didn't have that body was so strong it was. I mean, that was one of those things where I didn't want to watch the replay, just turned the sound up and checked out what was going on. But yeah, that was scary, man.
I was listening to Jamal Mashburn on a podcast the other day, and he was talking about when the college players were practicing against the Dream Team. Have you heard the story that he was telling?
No.
Okay. So you guys he said we were part of a group, Grant Hill and some other guys, Rodney Rogers. We saw Larry Bird in the hotel. And then he said, get some sleep, young fellas. And then you guys went and scrimmaged against them. And Rodney Rogers is talking smack to Larry Bird. Larry's on the sidelines just watching. And Rodney Rogers all of a sudden tugs on Superman's cape. What happened after that?
Yeah, well, Rodney Rogers he's one of the best jerks that you'll meet. And so, again, we were all there playing against our favorite player. You got to realize it was Stockton and Bobby Hurley and Grant Hill and Jordan. It was all of our favorite players individually. And, they used to hide us in these gyms. We're working out, and we didn't really know what was going on. We get to scrimmage these guys, and I mean, we really beat them. And the next day, or we're in the hotel or something, because they were really kind to us. They took us out to eat. We got to be in their room and gawk and stare at them. And here goes Rodney Rogers. He's talking the stuff that we were talking in our other room. Our other room, we talking junk. Like, yeah, Magic didn't know what to do. And he goes to Bird right in his face. He said something like, yeah, they ain't made a jump shot since the 80s or 80. One of the years they probably won a championship.
84.
And the next day, man, there you go. And the next day in practice, first we didn't score a bucket. That's when I really knew it was a difference in the NBA and college, because the drills of denying, I remember Jordan pulling up the shorts and denying, and you literally couldn't touch the ball. And so Bird, I remember one time coming to the corner, he pump fakes and Rodney Rogers goes by. He says, "Welcome to the Parachute Club." It's a 3 in his face. And, after, I don't know if it was Magic or someone said something like, that kind of reminds you of 84 a little bit, don't it? And so that was the best part about playing against them, is that they treated us like they're equals by talking trash to us. Because that was a kid's dream come true. But no one told Rodney to start. We weren't trying to start a war at that time.
I love it. Who was the nicest guy on the Dream Team to you guys?
Truthfully, at the time, I remember Scottie Pippen took us to a dinner. But I remember Patrick Ewing and Larry Bird always being together. And whenever they were together, they would crack on us. It was like we were there just, we were just their crash test dummies for jokes. So those two were cool. Pip took us to dinner, but man, they all were great. They pulled us to the side, telling us things to work on. Like that definitely was one of the best basketball experiences I've had.
When people talked about how Bird and Patrick Ewing developed this great relationship, like you never would have thought that. But, Patrick talks about it. He said, we just got along. It was just, we connected with each other. That's not the pair that I would have put together with that team.
Dan, today they'd have a reality show like Boban and and my guy over there in Philly, Tobias Harris. So yeah, they were kind of an odd couple, but I didn't, because at the time we were just fans of them. So it's like WWF. We only, at the time, wrestling, we only got what you fed us. And I thought Patrick Ewing was this mean guy that's sweating all the time. And I thought Larry Bird was just, country and wouldn't talk to you. And, you find out, man, they were two of the coolest guys ever.
If the Fab Five had this name, image, and likeness, how different do you think it would have been after your freshman year at Michigan?
Well, I think even during our freshman year at Michigan, it would have been, incredible. It's crazy because then, I think yesterday someone told me that it was the 28th year anniversary of me getting drafted at the same time, Supreme Court ruling, the NCAA. And it's really interesting because I always think about Johnny Manziel. And I'll tell you why. What if he never plays football again, right? He went to Canada. We know he did all this other stuff. And we know he was famous for money and all that. Let's just take any personal thought of morale out of it, right? Whether he got in this place on his own or whatever. He'll never be able to duplicate that again.
Yeah.
And I think what people don't realize is it was always a dumb quagmire because it had nothing to do with the NCAA. You know how many local car dealerships would get more money by paying the walk-on to come sit, sign autographs at that car dealership? One person's gonna buy a car. I mean, period. So, you just cast those numbers of a guy's value. And I just think that, that's the peak of your value. It's the peak. And so to me, when I look at it, I think, if our jersey sold well, if it was the highest time of highest admissions at the school, if we could sell black socks and Hirachis, then I'm pretty sure we would have done well on our own selling T-shirts at $10 a pop before the game. Because you think about all the fake T-shirts of us that went on before the game. What if we could have just sold those of ourselves? You know what I mean? So I just think really it's the American way to be able to use your name and your likeness. So to me, it's common sense, and I think we would have done pretty well.
Would you have stayed an extra year if you could have gotten paid as much as an NBA rookie?
That's a great question. So times were very different. So I was 20, and I think at the time, no player had come out as a sophomore since Magic Johnson, who was in 79, and mine was like 18 years later. So a big difference. But yeah, I called the time out. We lost the championship. I wanted to stay there anyway and try to win the championship. You're a kid, you're young, you figure that you're going to live forever. And so for me, in my situation, well, most definitely, I was 30 minutes from my mother's cooking, my family, I'm the oldest of 5. Yes, I would have and waited to take that leap. Shaq left the year before as a junior, so it would have made sense to me. So yeah, definitely, I think, I definitely would have had a lot to think about. I wouldn't have had any excuse.
And you benefited, Jalen Rose benefited, Juwan Howard benefited, but, Ray Jackson and Jimmy King, they didn't have pro careers, and they could have gotten paid as members of the Fab Five.
And the way the Fab Five were, first of all, you're right. Shout out to Ray and Jimmy. They're smart. They could have done it. And we have rules where we do things together. So we would have been more empowered because everybody's average would have went up because you got to pay Ray and them the same. So that's definitely how we were. But I want you to think about a guy on our team like Eric Riley. He was the Big Ten shot blocking leader before we got there, came there with us. He was our ride, used to always power into his car. No, we would have got him things saying, no, if you're going to use me, could you use him next week? We would have empowered everybody to walk on. That's what I'm saying. The way we were, team first, the whole team would have been in there, and maybe you'd take less or whatever. So, no, this empowers everyone. If I'm the best offensive lineman and I'm going number 1, I guarantee you all linemen could go sign with me up here because now I can wield my power for the team, for the guys, So I think it's awesome. I think it's stupid to celebrate because it's what it should be. You should use your own name. But at the same time, I think it's awesome for these young kids and these individuals to be able to use their name, to be able to focus on, it's so much pressure as a student athlete. You still have to come through with the grades, depending on what program you go to. You work just as hard as other students, but at the same time, it's cool to be a kid there on campus, depending on pizza and everything. But, it's a different world. Some of these athletes have children. Some of them have families that need that, and it's great to go send that back to them. So I look forward to seeing how the Supreme Court, their ruling, the NCAA having to accept it. I look forward to seeing how it benefits the lives of young student athletes.
Always great to check in with you, Chris. Thanks for joining us as always.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
That's Chris Webber, C. Webb, member of the 2021 Basketball Hall of Fame class and former NBA analyst on TNT and the Fab Five at Michigan.